Well, the Vice President in charge of the private sector infrastructure and industrialization, Solomon Quaynor, says that rising geopolitical tensions and trade wars actually present opportunities for Africa to tap into global financing windows that are needed to ramp up its development. Well, speaking with Rise business correspondent Bosin Amafai in Dar es Salaam on Monday, the AFDB top official also outlines what the DFI is doing to support private sector infrastructure on the continent. Let's listen now.
It's a great pleasure meeting you here at the Mission 300 Summit in Dar es Salaam. Now, Mr. Quaynor, give me just a bit of an outlook, well, maybe first a look back. Are we seeing progress in terms of what the EFDB is doing, intervening and supporting the private sector infrastructure and industrialization on the African continent?
No, absolutely. Last year, the African Development Bank had a record year in terms of investments of over $10 billion, of which at least 50% were in core infrastructure, which is, transport infrastructure, energy infrastructure. Definitely we continue to see a lot of progress. Working with, developers such as Africa 50, we're also seeing more bankable projects, coming into the market. We've also developed, major platforms like the Alliance for Green Infrastructure in Africa, which is, intended to raise $500 million of project development capital for infrastructure. As we all know, the biggest problem with infrastructure in Africa is not the lack of opportunities, but a lack of addressable bankable opportunities. And so having that project development capital aggregated creates the opportunity really for more financing of projects. And we believe that that could actually create $10 billion of investments, in green infrastructure. So the trend is good, but we do have, the challenge around, fiscal space in a lot of our countries. And hence, continuing to look at infrastructure from a public sector perspective is not, the most viable option. We have to see how we can bring private sector into it. And so, part of what we are really promoting in a lot of our countries is that we should be exploring PPPs, private-public sector, private-public partnerships, to actually help solve the infrastructure challenge.
So in terms of strategies to ensure there are more bankable projects that meet investors' needs and concerns in terms of bringing money to the table and bringing returns on investments, what are some of the strategies that will have to be deployed, the support that the EFDB and the World Bank will bring together to deliver on the Mission 300 initiative from your department's point of view?
No, so this is where we are trying to aggregate various project preparation facilities that we have. So, for example, within the AFDB, we have the NEPAD Infrastructure Project Preparation Facility, where a number of, countries in the West have provided, funding, and also some African countries have provided funding really for project preparation, infrastructure project preparation. I just mentioned, this transformative platform, which is the Alliance for Green Infrastructure in Africa, where we have raised about over $200 million so far, and the target is to raise $500 million for both project development, infrastructure project development, and infrastructure project preparation. So as we aggregate these platforms, and similar platforms are also present in the World Bank Group, as we aggregate these platforms through partnership, we are able to not only address the opportunity for green infrastructure in Africa and to deliver Mission 300, we're able to do it with speed and also with scale. And that's what we're trying to achieve, because 5 years is not really a lot of time. And so, the target of really, adding 300 million, more people, new people in terms of access to energy is doable. And definitely we're beginning to break things down into actionable steps. So one of the key things that should emerge from this summit is we'll have country compacts. And these country compacts essentially bring government, multilaterals, philanthropic organizations, private sector to the table to agree a business plan on the energy access solution in that country. So we're trying to do this with about 13 countries here to start off. The idea is to expand this to the other African countries. We're also going to have a declaration at the end of the summit, which will be signed by more than 13 countries. And so, the trajectory in terms of actionable steps is a lot clearer. And once again, the idea is to make sure we deliver with scale, speed, and in a short time frame.
Are there external developments that the AFDB and other partners are watching very closely outside the continent that should help the continent to take a very critical look at some of the action plans taking place? Geopolitics, for example, there are issues about global trade, new administration in Washington. Do you think these are some of the things that should be should help you sit on the table and take a second look at your strategies and focus, perhaps?
So, to be honest, we're always going to face emergencies and shocks. And so the resilience of, our action plans is what's most important. Okay. So irrespective of these shocks, once again, the compacts will really define what we can do today and now and going forward. And so notwithstanding, all of these issues, we strongly believe, in the objectives of, the summit, and that it will set us on the right direction. Now, let me flip it and look at one of the positives that is emerging on the global landscape that could also really help us achieve, what we're trying to do. This relates to the SDRs, where we are looking for a rechanneling of the SDRs. It's something that the African Development Bank and the Inter-American Development Bank have piloted. And, if we're able to get a rechanneling of at least 20 billion, which has been pre-approved by the IMF, we can leverage that, 4 to 8 times and be able to provide that amount of significant concessional capital to really deliver on, the M300 objectives.
Thank you so very much. We appreciate this chat.